had a good time with Joan and Morrison. And so I hope you have too.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
I've got a picture of her young and a picture of her old, and you know she won a Nobel Prize for Literature finally after she'd written quite a few books that people were wondering why they hadn't given it to her.
Yeah.
It seems significant to me that she doesn't talk about remembering. She talks about re-memory. That things somehow stick as a, I guess so often it's in the body, that it's more fixed than perhaps our memories are that complete. I do have two scars that I have a division sign right here on my leg, two barbed wires, and one showing off when I was 2 down the back of an old Dodge. Oh my. Those, remember those kind of nice, who could resist? So we probably all have them. I don't know what you have, but. So listen tonight for what's different. We're listening to or thinking about with Toni Morrison about what she puts into Beloved, into her other books. And she, before she did these novels, you know, she accumulated a great deal of information. She's an editor by profession. Yeah. And she just assimilated the Black stories, all she could get. So that's something. So it's about embodiment. It's about the power of community to heal. It's about relationships healing. And that's kind of what I mean, that person could take so many ways to go on this. And our author in our book of Green Saints took colors. And it's true that the books are full of colors. And it isn't like it's a set standard for the meaning of colors. It's a one she finds in the book. You know what I'm saying, the difference, like there is no culturally assigned meaning to colors. A little bit in the church, purple for Lent, green for the ordinary Sunday.
Blue for Advent.
But it's not everybody that thinks that way. So I'm going to start. One of the intriguing things I think about Black experience is how varied it can be. And there's a place in the Song of Solomon, one of her books, which is the next slide, about color. You think dark is just one color, but it ain't. There are 5 or 6 kinds of black, some silky, some woolly, some just empty, some like fingers, and it don't stay still. It moves and changes from one kind of black to another. Saying something is pitch black is like saying something is green. What kind of green? Green like my bottles, green like a grasshopper, green like a cucumber, lettuce, or green like the sky is just before it breaks loose to storm. Well, night black is the same way. May as well be a rainbow. So black is not black. Except to the rest of us who aren't, who can see the slightest hint as a Black person. So in this, what we read for tonight, on the next one, are the colors she found in the writing. these ecologies for fertility, green for healing. In the beloved, Setha often has a green outfit she wears. Orange for death and renewal, and blue for resistance.
Democrats to handle this matter.
Is that something?
No, it's okay.
All right. So in the writing, there are often these revealing moments, epiphanies, being out in the natural world, which people often are, working in the fields, being in the woods, being in the granite quarries. Paul B. D., the main character in Beloved, finds he's always on the road. He's always doing horrible jobs or in jail or working in the quarry and then buried at night in a kind of cage in the ground. That's just awful, very much like being buried. And so for him to be out and see the landscape and breathe again, it's a big thing. And they always seem to take to forests to pray and sing. At least that's a common place where they can be. Have you read Paradise?
I haven't.
Paradise, the novel Paradise. It's kind of interesting because this group of Blacks, we're talking about the period just before, and then a lot of these folks, or at least Setha is born before the Civil War, before the Emancipation Proclamation. And then a lot of this takes place not too long afterwards. But in Paradise, it's about this Black town in Ruby, Oklahoma. And it tells the stories of these women that I'm going to name in the next slide. 4 or 5 of them, well, even more in the end, but the convent was run by nuns for a long time, and the nuns are gone, all but one, or one that was with them, named Consolata, and she's kind of the mentor of a lot of people. Nice name for her.
Mm-hmm.
So one by one, they come out of bad personal situations, these women, and they take them in. That seems to be one of the principles of Black life, that you take people in if they need it. If they need food, if they need a place to stay, they're welcome. So they thought if they built a town that was just for Black folks, that would possibly be a new Eden, a new creation. Other people wouldn't be welcome there. And then, in the middle of their desire for racial purity and unity, the convent seems to attract, not as a convent now of nuns or anything, but the convent is a place for people who have no place, and they're welcome there, especially the women, who was there. So they've got beds. It's a little overgrown out at the convent, and these people learn to garden and get so they know each other. They aren't all friends ever, but some of the wildness and pain they're carrying gets kind of built into the community or eased. But the other people that live in the town think they're awful, that they're messy, grimy, soiled, unclean, that they embody dirt, undesirable, contaminate, difficult to remove. In fact, they're compost, like that, biological material made from the decomposition of plants and food waste, the recycling of organic manure, material and manure. So they've tainted this sacred place these pure Black people have come to. And it's a very sad story because they eventually attack the convent and kill the main person. I think it's Consolata. I didn't reread that. And drive off a lot of the women that have been there. So it kind of destroys their community in the name of them being the original settlers, the pure settlers, that you had to be from their families. So they just kind of repeated what we see in white society. So that's an ironic book, but it also stresses the fact that it was rebuilding for the women that came there. Indeed, it was compost for them, those relationships and their work with the earth and in gardens and having produce and being able to eat and being able to have some life together. So it was a fecundity experience for them and a thing to reject for the pure Black people. Isn't that interesting? I mean, I tell you, she's such a genius, isn't she? Toni Morrison. So next slide. So that's what I was just saying, that from the ecological prism, waste can be understood as fecundity. And in the personal realm, restoration, getting it together, getting yourself back and active and operating. So there are the women who were there. Mavis, who lost her 2 children, battered. Gigi, Alice. She's had, I mean, they've all had terrible, terrible experiences. But they're having things grow and learning how to make things grow. Their intimacy with earth, our author calls it. They learn how to live this way and grow the food they eat and begin the healing. And interestingly, 2 of them get chased out and never turn up again, but they seem to be entirely able to handle themselves as they head out. So they've learned a lot and they go together. So the next one. So this is kind of how Toni Morrison sees it, that there's breathing space away from the world's unrelenting and ubiquitous forces of racism and white supremacy. Out in nature. They have places where they can sit. Take a break from the field, not be seen. Paul D is kind of the hero of Beloved, the one who comes for Setha. But he has a special tree on the Sweet Home plantation, which you remember is they are abolitionists at Sweet Home, the original couple. So they treat the men, especially as men, try to help them treat them like regular free men, educate them. But they also do field work all the time for them. So this knowledge of the tree he calls his brother gives him time for, I suppose we'd call it recollection, time to feel that as history goes on, his life could be other. I mean, this is living through the Civil War and on into being freed. So you kind of know that from the beginning. And this lovely thing that our author, what's her name? Larissa?
So, yeah.
One of the things he notes is when Paul, who just seems to have his life for the 18 years since he saw Setha when he comes back, he's been everywhere, 7 or 8 states, been in prison himself, worked for someone and not got paid, spent that time in the quarries, chained and buried at night in cages. But when one of his escapes, the Cherokees tell him where north is, that he should always follow the blossoms, that he head out to what's blossoming in Kentucky now and go north as the trees bloom. It's just kind of a lovely image, isn't it? So Larissa's colors. So red. These are her colors, so I think you have to go to the next, yeah. So she uses the colors and relates them to her own experience. So as you do this, I think we should do it too, so think about it. So her life, a while back, a mixture of once inhibited rage at having been the victim of various kinds of abuse, symbolized by red, mixed with experience of depression and anxiety, symbolized in blue, resulting in the formation of a woman who now occupies a space of ongoing survival, healing, and recovery, symbolized by purple. And also to her, a symbol of her own biracial, multi-ethnic identity. And interestingly, purple takes 2 colors to make it. So she's just drawing attention. Did I stand on something?
No, you didn't.
No.
Hide everything, Joan.
So there we are. That's hers. So red for trouble, blue for depression, anxiety, purple for healing, she hasn't got any green, but there's often green, or fecundity.
All right.
Things grow green. Brown for fertility, green for healing, orange for death and renewal, blue for resistance. So what we can see now,
Sorry, I really don't know what happened.
I know
It all of a sudden stopped.
We've just started.
I want to have them in another, there is one more slide, but so black and beautiful is it what Harrington calls her piece.
Which one did she write?
She's one of the contributors.
Yeah.
And she recognizes over and over in Morrison's work that care for black bodies, which are also often all torn up from what slavery to them. Can you hear over there? No.
Sorry, it's gonna happen again.
Discuss amongst ourselves.
Well, why don't we take a couple minutes of quiet and just think about. Think, can you hear me? No.
No.
I can talk to them.
Chat, you put it in chat.
Yeah, I can put it in the chat.
We can hear you.
Here, it's back on, Joan.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
We can hear.
I am thinking about. Well. This connection between black bodies, black work with the earth, black making the earth good so it grows things. That we're really reading stories of survival just to eat, but also survival to be somebody. Both kinds of things. And I sense a lot in Toni Morrison, her Catholic experience, because she became a convert at 12. I was kind of on her own, as far as I know. That she has a very Catholic imagination. She has a very strong sense of the natural world being sacramental. And being involved with it as being sacramental. And our author says that she also shares this Catholic imagination. She's a Catholic. But the sacramental imagination unites understanding of black flesh with that of the earth, since both mediate to us the presence of God in the world.
Oh, jeez.
Such sacramental awareness disrupts racist white hegemonic systems and requires the emphatic declaration of black beauty and its imagining of the divine. That's what she said at the end of her piece, our author. that you see your own self identified with her, and you see that as holy. Holy, like what you see around you, what you work with. So now I would like us, I think, to work in twos for, I don't know. Probably it won't take too long. But to express what color expresses you. And what color expresses healing or growth for you. Or maybe what plants, or what do you see? Is it trees? Is it flowers? Is it moods of the sky? Is it where you were when you finally had some insight? Is it things you dream? So I'll time a couple minutes, and then I think it'd be good to share in twos, the way we are here. Yeah. And I'll take 10 minutes. Time to stop.
We drove for
Okay,
5 minutes
I'm green.
without a break in coffee. It's just like.
Colors. Many colors.
I'm a bright white, but.
Bright white for Linda.
Bright white. Ooh.
Well, here we go. Now we're going to move to Beloved, which our story did quite a bit about. Have you read it ever?
Yes.
Did
Yes,
you put it off a long time?
Yes.
I put it off a long time because I knew what it was about. Now I read it.
Did you just read it now?
I reread it, yeah. And I read it for the first time, not real long ago, like maybe 3-4 years ago, or I was kind of scared of the book.
they got a movie too.
Yeah. But just literally scared of it, like a remembering, like it was in the book. And it would be just too much. Well, then, as I was preparing this, didn't I read in my Harvard Divinity School bulletin? An article by a doula.
Oh, should I not be sharing yet?
About Margaret Gardner, who is the person that Toni Morrison is writing about. No, Toni Morrison did this vast collection, all she could get, of stories out of Black histories and family histories, you know, real first person kind of accounts, and put a lot together. So this woman, this real woman, born in 1856, Civil War, 62 to 65. She was born in slavery in Kentucky and worked as a house slave most of her life, often traveled with her masters, even in shopping trips up to Cincinnati. So she was in Kentucky, just below Cincinnati. Which kind of home territory for Toni Morrison too. She's from Lorain, Ohio, down there too.
Is there a slide with this? We've got this slide, but I thought there was one that had stuff about them.
No, I think there isn't.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm telling you this. No,
She had, you
no,
had her
there is
name.
a,
118, right?
Now, there was a slide.
Yeah.
That was up and then disappeared.
the next slide.
That
No more slides?
No, there is. I'm sorry.
There it is.
Thank you, everybody.
So they make it over the river. Her family, Margaret Garner, with she's got a 2-year-old, I think, and another couple kids. And before they get to this is the Underground Railroad now. So they get to the first stop across the river in this house, and they're waiting for the next contact to take them along the way. Meanwhile, the family, and she has the same name as they do, the Garners come, the master, and a trooper of some sort, and they are going to arrest her. And really, she has, meanwhile, when this threat comes, she slits the throat of the 2-year-old and injures the other 2, and then is arrested at the time for murder of the children. But this author points out that I'm reading that it really was stolen property. She and her 3 children. Well, the abolitionists get her off. But she still is in jail for a good long time with her youngest 2-year-old. So the question that this person I'm reading raises is, what was her spiritual state when she made the decision that pulled her to the edges of herself, beyond what she could handle, being that close to freedom with her children, by herself, and then they come for her, and to go back, and is it worse than death, slavery? So what's it about? And this is what the person who's reading this asks the last question, which I didn't put up there, I guess, is the psychic trauma of slavery worse than death? Is kind of what Toni Morrison explores, the woman's in the person of Seppa. So it was interesting that I just happened on that. So that makes Morris's fiction, especially this one, but probably in a sense always all of them. Morrison's fiction is really Black religious space for considering all the experiences that people have, that they embody. I mean, they have got scars. They have got psychic pain. But they also, most everybody has terrible scars from it. Setha has, her back has been lashed so awfully, and I guess often, that it's described as a tree. Which of course is also interesting, a living thing. that you can feel. The scars are high like stars are, and the lash goes a long way. But the fiction provides this theological perspective where we see in various examples recognition of the divine, reclamation of the body, and the gathering of community. And that's really what, if you haven't read it, what this book is about, beloved. Because Setha does the same thing when their arrangements to escape, which they do for a year beforehand, they're planning. And then at the time of it, she's actually pregnant and ready to deliver. All this planning time, no. And then it doesn't work the way they planned it. And her husband doesn't show up and never does show up again. And so something happened to him, she doesn't know. And she's out in the middle of nowhere after she gets across the water when she's going to have the baby. And a young white girl helps her, which you can hardly imagine, but she crawls to this sheltered spot, has the baby. But that's the baby that she kills when she's arrested. I mean, when the master and the officer come to get her. So rather than be taken away, that's what she does with that new child. And that child haunts her. That is the child that becomes beloved.
Joan.
Yeah.
Does she talk to beloved?
Yeah. Now, in the novel, who knows exactly how this was? I don't suppose Toni Morrison does either, but Beloved becomes like a real person. And she's a little girl. She's like 2 when she starts being there in this house with Setha and her daughter. What is her daughter's name?
Denver.
Denver. Yeah, there's so many names. The 2 of them live in the house. We'll get to the house. All right, so next, the beginning of Beloved. I thought we'd just look at the beginning and the end especially, and then some of the healing and the kinds of healings and conflicts they have, 3 or 4 of them. So 124 is where they live. It's in the country, kind of run down. It's a big house near a town. And these are the first words there. 124 was spiteful. The host was. Full of baby venom. The women in the house knew it, and so did the children. For years, each put up with the spite in his own way. But in 1873, Setha and her daughter Denver were its only victims. So they were left living for quite a long time, like 18 years or something in this house. And during it, the specter becomes increasingly controlling and then needing and having service from them. Or at least that's the effect this trauma had on her. The grandmother, this house didn't belong to, but her grandmother, baby Suggs Foley, was dead. And the sons, Setha's sons, had run away by the time they're 13. So within 2 months in the dead of winter, leaving their grandmother, baby Setha, her mother. So a grandmother, a mother, and their little sister Denver, all by themselves in the gray and white house on Bluestone Road. The blue. Marissa Harrington sees that as a color of resistance. That the spirit, so she has a long lasting depression. And increasingly becomes not her person, you know, not in charge of herself. And the town, everybody loves baby Suggs. And she had a great big meal and feast for everybody out there. And I don't know that she ever paid the rent, and they were kind of put off because it seemed to be such a big deal. So they were kind of got alienated from the town too. But before that, baby Suggs is kind of a preacher girl. They call her baby Suggs Holy. And that's another.
Thank you.
So this is an example of healing that baby Suggs leads. So her AMEs, the African American Episcopals and the Baptists and the Holiness churches and the Sanctified Church of the Redeemer and the Redeemed, all those folks come. And uncalled, unrobed, unanointing, she, baby Suggs, let her great heart beat in their presence. When warm weather came, baby Suggs, holy, followed by every black man, woman, and child who could make it through, took her great heart to the clearing, a wide open place cut deep in the woods, nobody knew for what, at the end of a path known only to deer and whatever cleared the land in the first place. And then on the next slide, this is what she did. This healing, this communal healing. Here in this place, we flesh that weeps, laughs, flesh that dances on bare feet in grass. Love it hard. Yonder, they do not love your flesh. They despise it. They don't love your eyes. They just soon pick them out. No more do they love the skin on your back. Yonder, they flay it. And oh, my people, they do not love your hands. Those they only use, tie, bind, chop off, leave empty. Love your hands, love them, raise them up and kiss them, touch the others with them, pat them together, stroke them on your face, because they don't love that either. You've got to love it, you. And no, they ain't in love with your mouth. Yonder out there, they will see it broken and break it again. What do you say out? They won't, whatever you say out, they will not heed. Well, it goes on much longer, but you get the feel of blessing all the places that are scarred and hurt and now our author, Harrington, Larissa, and the next, calls her readers into a kind of anamnesis. Now, do you know that word?
No.
If you study sacramental theology, you do.
No. Whoops.
This is, do this in memory of me. This is what we think the Eucharistic prayer is in making Jesus really present. And anamnesis means no amnesis. It's a negative of amnesis, losing your memory. right? Forgetfulness. But animesis is the theological word for making things real. An embodied remembering where you do not merely recall this history in a passive manner, but become tied to committed action of conversation, healing, and justice, which that remembering mandates. Do this in memory of me would be an example. It's what they call that part in the Mass if you study it. So now we look at some of the things that happen, memories. This is like Beloved herself, the child that was killed. But they're experiences that seem to have a life of their own. They stalk you in many ways. I think it's what we call PTSD. You know, that they're in very bad. I mean, there are lots of mild things that just, you know, take you back to quick memories, sort of, that take you back to this person or that person or event. But if you have some trauma in your life or been with people when they die, there's often very real things that take you back to then. And as well as being conscious of them, they're like a trigger. And often in the Black experience, they actually live in the body, like the lashing. That's the history is there. It's the first thing Paul D does in the book. He comes in and sees her, and she doesn't, he starts to tell who he is and everything, and then they knew each other back at the old plantation. And he comes and kind of, you know, wraps his hands around and takes her breasts, and then begins to feel all this, the tree of lashings. And so he takes her shirt down and sees it, this awful back. That's how their relationship starts. And it's even like places where it happened they live there, these memories. So Sessa has the tree on her back from the lashing. And she also, when she was waiting, hoping, she was still nursing Denver. And boys came by and stole her milk. She had sent Denver on with the people that were going ahead of her over the river. And these boys came. So it means they just decided that they were still babies, I guess, and took her milk. I think that would be a terrible thing. Then there's a period in jail, which he doesn't ever seem to think much about. So maybe that was a peaceful time for her. But then once she gets to the house where baby Suggs Holy lived, who's her mother, then the dead child apparition starts being there, starts messing things in the house. And begins to haunt them over the next 18 years. And at the end of it, Sete, near the end of the book, calls Beloved, whom she's devoting her life to now, calls Beloved my best thing. She has totally kind of inside out, so devoted to this apparition. of the child that never was. And Paul D., who always liked her, one of his friends, one of the other 6 men on the plantation, who really were kept to respect the women there, really always liked Setha, but one of the other guys married her. And he's had the neck cuff, been chained at the neck. So he's got all these things. He's had the bit in his mouth, which she knows often made people's eyes kind of pop, but he doesn't have that. And I told you about the cages in the ground at night while quarrying by day. So he worked and walked, lived in with people, went on. And then at the beginning of the book, he comes to the house out there. And Denver has always been with Setha. She's 2 when they go across the river. She's aware. She seems to play with Beloved all the time too. She knows about her from her mother. And gradually she takes care of her as she grows up and becomes a playmate in the book. And she kind of winds up in the end caring for both the Spectre and her mother. So how to get out of this? So what happens at the end of the book? This is just one slide now. This is it. So for years, Setha supports them because she cooks at school and brings home food and money. So everything goes okay. But gradually, she stops going, at least not so many days, and then doesn't have the job anymore and kind of starts to go physically downhill. And the spiteful spirit kind of takes over the house. And nobody goes near the house because they hear tales of this spirit. Nobody wants to be there. And there is, when Denver starts talking to people about who she might work for, who she might stay with, and she starts, people question, and she starts telling about what's happening at the house. So then some of the Black women kind of catch on that they maybe should do something about it because they had kind of let them be, thinking they were uppity or something. And especially this Ella, who was repeatedly attacked. She was a young Black woman for a planter and his son, and she never nursed the white babies. So she kind of understands the edge that Setha went to in her book. I mean, in her experience. So she particularly kind of organizes the women and they go, and then there is this great community healing like they used to have in the woods and hadn't had in a very long time, or at least these 2 hadn't gone. So there's 30 or more women there singing and singing outside the house, and Setha and the Spectre, who's looking kind of slutty, I guess, sing and pray like they used to in the woods. And people see something they think. Nobody quite agrees what they saw, seeing different things. But at the end of it, she's gone. the specter. And then at the very end of the book, there's this conversation. So the Denver is a hell by getting a step out into the real world, and other people, the community finds out enough to join in to want to free Setha. And then Paul D comes back. And at the very end, he leans over and takes Seth's hand. And with the other, he touches her face. She has just before this said that she's lost her best thing. She lost beloved. And he says to her, your best thing, Setha. You are. His holding fingers are holding hers. And then she says those final words, me. Kind of back to what that quote with Toni Morrison's picture, freeing yourself was one thing, claiming ownership of that free self was another. I mean, everybody carries so much damage and such physical damage. So I don't know, do you have any of those? Give you a little time to talk to each other. We're on this question. Okay, so
Amazing.
let's move on to Ivone Gebara.
Oh, Ivone Gebara. It should say who this was. I didn't even know that.
If you had a chance, our reading was about her life and her culture. So it's different than being Black. But she remarks that just as there's one sex that's normative, so in the West is one skin color that is normative. That one skin color is normative.
Yes.
And there's one sex normative in Brazil. And this is the white norm. And this is white norm. This white norm becomes an evil if one is born Black or brown. From this norm arise impossible desires, the wish for blue eyes and the white doll. And from this norm springs a contempt for difference and the poverty that is tied to skin color. So she's quite hard, but yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And next slide. So the culture in which she was raised, a girl gains value when she's obedient to her father and mother, to her husband, or simply to her family. She takes on value by her beauty, the domestic services she performs, her ability to be an excellent mother and manager of the household. Men have values in themselves, in their autonomy, in their efforts to make something of their lives. So becoming a sister was a logical result of finding value in myself, even though it surprised everybody. At first glance, this view may seem a contradiction, especially today when women's religious institutions are criticized for being patriarchal. But for me, it was a path to justice and freedom, a place where I could live gospel values without constraints of my native culture.
Oh, geez.
That's okay. Well, it's not okay for the people on.
Wonder what that is.
screens and tight ends.
I read nothing.
Well, is there some way you can continue reading it?
Yeah,
The microphone won't work.
okay, so you can,
We hear you.
all
We
right.
hear fine.
Closing time gave Jalen Phillips in the ballgame. He started tonight. There was questions just.
So the oppression of women, she says, is at the heart of the unjust organization of our society. An extent of our human sin, every aspect of existence. Theology as critical reflection on historical praxis is a liberating theology, a theology of liberating transformation of the whole history of humankind, and therefore that part of humankind which openly confesses Christ. But given the explosion of women in the midst of the explosion of the poor, as feminists of the third world are saying, it is no longer possible to maintain the same trend thought, repeat the same theological formula. Something very deep within the human person was beginning to awaken. So she lives in a poor section of a town in Brazil, where she's the only citizen trying to live with a sense of justice and respect toward her neighbor and environment. The transcendent and imminence of evil strike her every day, just surrounded. Maybe we feel a little that way these days too.
Yeah.
Transcendence means that evil overtakes us more completely than good. And evil is always present in the daily routine. Then she has this incredible piece of writing that I'm going to do for you. She says, when I see a young mother with 4 children abandoned by her husband and having to leave her youngsters in a tiny room facing the street with bars almost like a prison so she can go to work. When I see that there are no schools for children, when I see children brawling in the streets, committing little thefts and sometimes crimes, easy prey for drug traffickers, when I surprise myself at being afraid of children, of their violence, when I see a neighbor set fire to another neighbor's stall out of jealousy and competition over trade, when I see my neighbor who beats his wife and abuses her in public, when I see the carelessness of my neighbors, ignoring the common good, throwing garbage in the streets, when I see dirty water coming out of our faucet, when I feel powerless and ignorant as to how to use my own abilities in the neighborhood, then suffering becomes my daily bread. And I feel in my own skin the transcendence and imminence of evil. So the overwhelming feeling of it and the dailiness of it. I live in my own skin the contradictions of the good news of Jesus, which has no suitable ground for being sown, no possibility of being effectively lived out. Ooh.
Yes.
And then she says, the transcendence and imminence of evil calls me to be converted to the reality I observe. This mingled reality where no word can be complete, no God can be all powerful, no good can be completely victorious, and no evil can have the last word over life. May this be what our tradition, may this be our traditional theologians, what they called original sin, If so, I live it in my bones.
Ah,
I know. So. How about us? What are you taking from this? We have 6 whole minutes, maybe 6.5.
You know, I have paper copies here if anybody wants one of that article.
Trey says,
Thank you. I know that, Jackie does. I'm right behind you.
Here you go.
Do you have another?
Yeah.
go ahead.
I have one pile.
So
I see what she's saying. I mean, and I agree, but sort of the other side of the mirror is those of us who live in, upper middle class white America. That's really been bothering me. I mean, one example is I was telling someone the other day that I read an article that said Skechers has for years had a bad record on exploiting children and child labor. And she said, well, that's too bad because it's the only kind of shoes I can wear. And I'm looking at her like, so if they went on business, she'd go barefoot. I mean, and it's really hard to confront that kind of attitude that I see in myself sometimes, Yeah. Yeah.
if I want to do something, I'm just going to do it. And I think, the things I do to contribute, we just got into, the use of electricity, the overuse of water and all of those things. So I think that's the other side. We can see the evil that these people suffer and live through, and we're often quick to judge some of their behaviors, but it's harder to see where the original sin is in us.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Oh,
I had a thought.
I think it's Peg.
Yes. Yeah, I was just going to say that listening to her, she's struggling with that perennial question. Why do bad things happen to good people? And if God is good and powerful, why is there evil so much? And I think, I know at times I've really struggled with why is there so much struggle in the world? Where is God in all of this sort of question? But I also think that oftentimes, even with the best intentions, we're caught up in social sin where I can't help but participate in it in a way because it's so complex. A small, simple example would be the problem of polluting the air by driving a car that's powered by gasoline, but yet I don't have another way to get somewhere because I live in the country. So it's that being caught up in that complex of interwoven things that make it really hard to separate one thing from the other, and that continual mystery of why, since we know and believe God is good, why is there so much evil that can't seem to be overcome in the world? Thanks.
I think that we feel it in our bones. Like at the end of the killing at Annunciation Church.
Yeah.
It just didn't we all walk with that for weeks?
Yeah.
That kind of evil. We just, that's a powerful, powerful thing.
I was gonna say, in October, I spent 2.5 weeks in India, mainly Delhi and Jaipur and Agra, that area. I must admit, it was culture shock to me. You would think from looking at the news and being well-informed and thinking you know everything, but driving on the bus we were on all through Delhi, poverty, and we weren't in the slums. We were just where people live.
Yeah.
And the poverty is pervasive and the garbage is everywhere. And it appears that nobody's really taking care of anybody, despite the fact that the kids can all go to school if they want to. Of course, we were there during Diwali and they all had holidays, which was a whole nother, really interesting to observe. But our tour guide was really intent on explaining Hinduism and how it relates to their philosophy of life and how they're improving their country and how what they believe in spirituality and afterlife. And to me, it's like, oh, I've never gotten so deep into that in my entire life. I mean, it was eye-opening to hear him talk about their respect for life and, you know, why they say namaste. It's not what I always thought it was, peace. It's not, it's, I bow to the sacred within you. And everybody would do it to you. Even the little kid coming up with you on the street, the 5-year-old with their hand out, would go namaste to you. And if they didn't, their mom got after them. Yeah. So their whole philosophy and how they approach things and how much poverty and garbage they live in. Oh my gosh, I tell you, I need to do a lot more thinking about that, but it kind of relates to this.
Yes. And so does this. This is what you read earlier, Joan, when the slide wasn't up. It's on page 52. In my view, the oppression of women was not just some addendum or just one more theme for theology. It was at the heart of the unjust organization of our societies, an expression of our human sin, touching every aspect of existence. Which is what you find in those cultures that think they are so cool and they're oppressing women all the time.
I mean,
But that,
the women actually still wear saris.
let's listen to this.
I know,
Let's listen to this. I think maybe this article could have something to say to us about how to hang on to feminism, because it's so easy to let it go.
Yeah.
And you see that's happening now in theology and in the church. People are saying, well, you don't want to be one of those bitches. No, of course not. So then we stop demanding, stop suggesting, stop working. 52 anyway, go on from there.
Page 52.
I don't have
It's
any,
7:30, so
I don't have any numbers.
one more.
We're all down here.
Well, I was just gonna say,
What is this?
I can see
That's what it was given
evil
away.
as being imminent, but I'm not sure about this transcendence of evil, that evil, and
My view.
I think we can also have awareness of all the good things that people do. I think we have to hold on to that. So I'm not sure that it's transcendent, but I agree that it is very complex and things good and evil get really intermingled. I can see that, and people think they're doing good things sometimes. They're deceived when it's really really evil. For example, fighting wars, there's great glory, and aren't we celebrating Veterans Day? And it's sort of, I mean, there's great suffering for veterans, but this is not, this fighting business is not something to glorify that kind of patriotism. But anyway, one line she said at the very end that, no good can be completely victorious. I might agree with that, but no evil can have the last word over life. So that might be our faith. And I let go of this idea of God as being all powerful. A long time ago.
Yeah.
Do you want to say next week about,
No God.
next, right?
What is next week?
Rhonda?
Oh, next week, Rhonda Mitchke is coming, and it's going to be about Guatemala. And she's been there,
And she's the author of our chapter.
and she's the author of our chapter. She's out at
Great.
St. James and has been part of the things going on in St. James with the Lilly grants for the last 5 years.
Oh. Great.
So see you then.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
I should remember that. I've got lots of Sandys in my life.
Yeah.
No. I think it was, I know the times at that time, Sandy was 15s.
If they were born in the 50s, they're not.
50s, yes. I was born in 1950.
Yeah.
Don't forget your berries.
Thank you.
Who's
Joan, even
Yeah.
way back in Zoroastrian times,
Oh, that's Marilyn.
Sorry, I don't know where Zoom.
even way back in the times of Zoroaster, there was always a delicate balance between good and evil. And it was that good people had to try very hard to keep goodness from being overcome by evil. So this is not a new fight.
No, there's always. I never find it somewhere, yeah. But what do you do?
You can share that with us at the beginning of
Are we supposed to read that chapter 11?
Oh, here, the oppression of women was not some.
Do you know where this picture comes from?
It's the Greek islands. Nice. That picture. Yeah, I think it's Mykonos.
Mykonos?
Oh, yeah. Stop.